Everyone talks about fancy barista tools, the latest and greatest coffee equipment out there. But not a lot of people talk about what makes up over 98% of the coffee in their cup. Hey guys, it's Christian Bachu coming at you with Solo Macchiato. Today we're going to talk about something really important, and that is the water that goes into your coffee. We're going to look at three different ways of comparing water that you could be using at home. And they could be as simple as a Brita filter, a zero water pitcher, and the good old tap water. But before we go on, if you get any valuable information from this content, please give me a like and a subscribe. It tremendously helps me grow my channel. In the world of coffee, we talk about something called TDS, or total dissolved solids in the water. What is that? Well, every single little drop of water has stuff in it. The water that comes from your tap has a lot of different things. You can actually go and research your own local municipality, and they do water analysis tests quite often. Or if you're on a well, you should be getting those done fairly frequently. But today, we're going to use my little TDS meter that comes with my zero water pitcher to look at how many dissolved solids are in each one of these cups between the zero water, tap water, and the Brita pitcher. We'll talk a little bit about what I like to do with various brewing methods. Oh, trying to pour with my left hand. Not very good at it. There we go. And then we'll talk a little bit about how everyone can modify the water that comes out of their tap, as well as some other methods that are fairly popular out there. But first, we're going to try the zero water pitcher. And just like advertised, it's 0 parts per million in terms of dissolved solids. Now we're going to look a little bit at the tap water. So let's put this into the tap water. I'm getting a reading of 166. So let's hit a hold on that. So 166 parts per million. And that's actually really not bad for tap water. It's not very hard. Hard water, will often be over 200. And now let's get rid of the hold and let's look at the Brita pitcher. So again, water filtered from my tap, and we've got somewhere around the 118, 121, 121 parts per million. So what does that tell me? It tells me that the Brita does filter out some solutes. Which ones? Well, it tends to be kind of the bad ones that you really don't want to put into your body, but it also filters out organic material and chlorine. And that's actually a really, really big one, because despite the fact that it leaves a good amount of dissolved solutes in the water, it removes the ones that give you bad taste. And just simply drinking water from the Brita tastes amazing. So what I tend to do is I just use Brita water when I do pour overs. I absolutely love it. It's a great TDS for pour overs, and I'm actually really happy with it. How do we know what is good, what is bad? Well, anything above 75 and under 250 is great. Ideally, somewhere around 150 is where you want to aim, but obviously that depends on your municipal water. If you're doing a filtration system, then that's according to the Specialty Coffee Association. Now, if we're going to go and taste the tap water, Oh yeah, immediately you can taste stuff in it. It's not bad, but there's definitely a big difference. Oh yeah, nice and clean, nice and crisp. They're all at the same temperature. They sat at room temperature for a while, so that won't skew it. But there's definitely a taste to this water. Now the zero water is kind of interesting because there's nothing in it, but it almost just gives you this feeling that it's drying out your tongue when you're drinking it. And this by itself is not good for coffee, okay? Even though for an espresso machine, the lower the TDS, the better, because it reduces the chance of scale buildup, of calcification, things like that. But it's also not great for your machines either, because any metal components over time you can actually strip away some of the metals within them and cause damage to your machine. So you do want to try and aim for, maybe 60 parts per million, 70 parts per million, maybe even up to 80 parts per million, but you really don't want to go too much higher than that. So how do I personally do that for espresso machines? Well, I combine these two. So this is at about 120. This is pretty much, well, it is zero as long as I keep my filter changed frequently. So what I do is I pretty much go 50-50 mixture. I don't check with the TDS meter all the time, but I'll do it at least, once every 2 weeks or so. I'll check my tank for my espresso machine to make sure that I have a good balance there. To put things to test, I've brewed 1 cup, one espresso with the combination of water that I typically do. Then I very quickly drained out my water tank and filled it with just regular tap water, gave it a few flushes to make sure there's just tap water in there. And this one here is just tap water. So I've stirred both of them. They look pretty well identical, but let's see how they taste. So first, I'll do my usual. Now I see why that's my usual, because it tastes great. Yep, nice, balanced, clean cup. Good flavor separation, and it just tastes great. It's my typical go-to Brazilian bean that I use almost all the time. And now let's try the tap water. There's definitely a difference. Yeah, it's 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 got a different taste to it. Is it bad? No, but it definitely tastes different. This is a pretty small amount of water, right, that I'm using in espresso, but yeah, definitely oh yeah, definitely a big taste difference between the two of them now that I'm really going back to back. Well, I've turned that good one into a little bit of an Americano with some just almost boiled Brita water, and I absolutely love it. And just for some closing remarks, you don't have to go out and buy a $3,000 filtration system. There's lots of options. One of the other options is to purchase gallons of distilled water and then buy various packets from different companies that will remineralize it with the correct minerals. In fact, some of them are very specific to espresso machines, the light roast, the medium roast, dark roasts, and whatnot. However, you're going to be spending quite a pretty penny. Each one of those little packets that makes a gallon of water is almost $2. and then factoring in the cost of the big jugs of distilled water, you're looking at quite a bit. Whereas something like a Brita filter is, you purchase the filter itself, and then the the pitcher itself, and then the filters you change out every couple of months. It doesn't break the bank. If you want to do it well, and you want to purchase, something like a zero water pitcher as well, I do find that I actually have to change that filter more often, and it does cost a little more. So I do tend to change it every 2 months at most. It does cost a little more, but between the two of them, the overall cost is nowhere near as much as what I would be spending if I was using the packets. And plus, this water I actually drink. So I personally, when I get a glass of water, I go half Brita and half zero water. Do we really, really, really need to go to something like zero water? Probably not, but you definitely want to filter your water as best you can. Some people say, well, my little espresso machine comes with its own little filter. That one's definitely not good enough. That filter just makes sure that gunk doesn't get into the machine, dirt and whatnot. Use good filtered water in it, and it'll make a huge difference. Until then, remember, life is beautiful.